Everybody, Creative Katie, Karen Burchill here. Welcome to my channel. Today I have a Dollar Tree find, a DIY mini make art journal. Might be just the thing you're looking for. So while I was at Dollar Tree, I came across this disc-bound mini journal. $1.50 in Canada, can't beat the price. And I thought, okay, I wonder if this will work to turn this into a mini art journal. So I purchased it. When I got home, I realized that it had black paper instead of white, and I thought, oh, but since I planned on putting gesso on it to prepare the pages to handle what mixed media throws at it, that wasn't enough to deter me. So what you're going to want to do with the papers is very carefully take them out, 2, 3 at a time. Don't, and be gentle because it is paper and it will rip. We're not looking at really high quality stuff here. So take out all the papers. Now this mini journal had about 60 papers, which are more than enough for the journal. So it's inexpensive. Many people talk about how they don't want to spend a lot of money, especially when they're starting out. If they do buy themselves an art journal, they're afraid to use it because they're going to wreck it. So this is a perfect way of building your skills and without risk, monetary risk anyways. So these measure 3 inches by 4 inches. So they're a little bigger than an ATC, an artist trading card, and smaller than most index cards, the iCads. But they're the perfect size. Now, when I say perfect size, because of the size, you can take advantage of many of the card making stamps that you might have, the dollar store stamps that you can get, and you can see the scale is perfect for this mini art journal. So I'm going to dig through my stash and I'm going to actually be able to use these things that are in my collection that I'm not really able to use on my bigger art journal pages. I can also use some of these sentiments. I love these wavy sentiments on these TCW stamps. I can use the focal image stamps and the sentiments on these mini makes. And I'm so excited about that because, even on anything bigger than an iCad, these stamps are too small. All the crazy cats, the birds, the dogs will fit on here as well. Just, flip through the stamps that you have, check out the ones at the dollar store, and you can use all of them, smaller scale, even from coloring books, smaller scale things that will fit on these mini makes. Look at your napkins. This is a napkin, like purse-sized napkin, perfect size. I can cut out these and use them as focal images. I can cut out one image of the flower. All these napkins I got from NinnysNapkins.com. There's an affiliate link in the description box along with a discount code. Those bees will be perfect. I could put the peacock on here, one of the birdhouses. Really, when you go and flip through what you have, you'll be surprised at how many things you can use for focal images on this mini make. Now I talked about you can use your sentiment stamps on, they're the perfect size for this mini make, this 3x4 page. But if you've purchased some of my stamps from, for example, here's the short and sweet sentiments, 1 to 3, 4 words, they're the perfect size. If you've purchased other of my sentiment packs, I've taught you how you can shrink them down, put 4 pages on 1 page or 6 pages to get it just the perfect size. And if you print it out on adhesive labels, you can just kind of peel and stick. The link to my sentiment packs are in the description box below. So here I've gessoed both sides to prepare them for whatever mixed media session. Now I'm going to show you how I did this with a brayer or a jelly plate. You could also put on gesso with a brush, but you're going to want to prepare the pages. Here I've also put some of the pages, after they've been gessoed, on the gel plate and added some color. So these blank ones are available to me at any time. And as I'm creating other things, I can add color, use up leftover paint, stamp or stencil, and I can even add on to these. So a lot of these, it's pre-done, which meets the need of if you don't have a whole lot of time to do art journaling. These ones, once you do this stash builder session, the time you can easily fit it into 20 to 30 minutes. Now, I'm not putting these pages back into the journal. I'm going to work with them flat on the surface, which is another great advantage. I've just clipped them with a paper clip and I'm going to keep them right by my side. So when I'm working on other things, I can add paint, I can add stamping or any kind of detailing. Now, I didn't gesso all of them because quite honestly, they're going to get thicker and all 60 pages aren't going to fit in there. Now, here's a finished page, and you're going to see me finish this page in a few minutes, but you can do both sides, or you can just put color on one side, gel print on one side. You decide. I haven't decided if I'm going to create on both sides. If you create on both sides, it's going to double thicken the paper because you're just simply going to have more layers. Now, once I'm done and it's completely dry, I'm going to put it in here and you can just, it's kind of a mini art easel. It stands on its own. So I can have this displayed in my house. I can use my favorite quotes. I can use some affirmations if I want. You can go on Pinterest and get those. I just think this is a great mini make art journal. Not a lot of expense, not a lot of time. You can do one or two techniques, experiment on it. You're not risking anything. So first, I'm going to recommend that you do a stash builder prep session to get those pages ready like you just saw. So I took out the black pages and I want to put a coat of gesso. That's going to help me be able to do a lot of different techniques. It's going to prepare it for paint. And it's also going to build up the page. Remember, I mean, it's dollar store. It's not exactly high-end, thick paper. It's not mixed media paper. So you're going to want to put a coat of gesso. Now I'm going to do this on my gel plate. This is an 8x10 gel plate. And I'm just saying, okay, 5 of them are going to fit on here. Now the gesso that I'm using is an economy brand gesso that I got at an art store. You don't need the top end brands for this purpose, but you do need some gesso on it. So that's, in my mind, a necessary expense. So I just brayer on the coat of gesso and I press these down onto this. Now this is the fastest way, or one of the fastest ways of getting gesso on a lot of pages very quickly. You can do it by brush. It's just a slower process. And I like to do things fast. So then I'm putting a page there. I don't want to get all that gesso on my hands. I just, any leftover pages before they go in the recycling bin, I just use them to mop up things like this. And then I pull it off. Now you could give another coat to this. I don't think I'm going to because I know I'm going to be putting colors and stamp. Now you want to grab it on the side where the punches are not. That's weakened a little bit. And as soon as this paper gets wet, it's going to become a little more fragile and you don't want to rip it. No biggie if you do, because as I said, you have more than enough pages to fill this book. You could also use the disc bound system, the coils and everything, and cut out your own pages from mixed media paper and put in this disc bound one. So then it occurred to me that, gee, I wonder if I could just brayer it on. And that's what you see me doing here. And this, believe it or not, was faster, and I got a better coat of gesso on it than using the gel plate. Now you got to be careful that you don't get the page wrapped around the brayer, and that happened a couple times. I switched out that page and I put a sheet of deli paper underneath, but you can use wax paper just to keep things clean. And I'm setting this aside, but you can, I know this video is sped up, but I did a lot of pages in a relatively short period of time. Now, before you put paint or gesso on the other side, you're going to want to completely dry it. So if that means you use your heat tool, or if that means you let it sit, let it sit. But you want it completely dry. If you put wet on wet, it might peel off, especially if you're not using high-end gesso. Just save yourself a headache. Now you can see the page that has only one side is curled, and the page that is gessoed on both sides lie flat. These pages are perfectly flat. They're a little thicker than they were initially. So then once I gessoed them, I'm adding color. I had my gel plate out, so I just brayered on some paint and some colors, and I just wanted a few pages that had color on them and the different colors of the rainbow. Now here I did 4, and basically they've got the same pattern, same colors. I don't want to necessarily have 4 of them. I mean, it's faster if you do it with, 4 of a kind, 4 of a kind, and that's perfectly fine. You could put different colors on each half of your gel plate, or just do half like I'm doing here. I'm using some of my mark making tools. I'll put a link in the iCards in the top right hand corner to my gel printing playlist if you want some instructional videos on that. This I'm just showing you how I'm preparing these pages for this mini make DIY art journal. If I don't like what's shown up, I can add another layer, gesso over it. This breaks those pages, gets you started. There might be some pattern on there. There might be some colors that will inspire you in any particular day. And I suggest keeping these right close to your desk. Flip through them, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I could do this. Those days when you want to create, but you don't have an hour to do it. Now these are just the starts. I can add colors to this. I can add stamping as I'm creating something else and I have leftover paint or modeling paste or anything. So I have a variety of pages that are in different stages of completeness. There are some there that basically I just need to slap on a focal image and a sentiment and I am done. I really like the idea of typing up affirmations and having a different affirmation with a focal image on each of these cards. And maybe after the ones that I'm going to do here, maybe that's what I will do. So let's do some mini makes. I've made a couple pages here. So this one I have gessoed both sides. And I am going to use the smooshing technique. Using these mini make art journal is perfect for trying out techniques because it's a small surface. And if it goes awry, nothing's really wasted. It's a small page and you do have extra. You don't want to, when you're working on smaller scale pages, do too many things. Here I'm just smooshing up the leftover paint onto a black one. I was curious as to how it would take color, and I think I would still gesso them. Now I'm adding another color to this and just pressing. My tabletop is glass and just pressing it on there, drawing it when you like what you see. If you don't like what you see, you can wet it, move it around a little bit. It's a great way of mixing colors. Smooshing is you can have 2 different colors and again, I'm just using regular acrylic paint. This is Liquitex Basics for the most part, but you can use your craft paint on this as well. As I said, this mini make art journal is perfect for the beginner. So I cleaned up my area because I want to continue working, loving the look of the colors. Now I'm just going to stencil a focal image on this one. And I grabbed this Peacock Doily stencil. It's from the Crafter's Workshop, and I'll list it in the description box with affiliate links. And I'm just using a dark blue to show up. And then I grab my fine line applicator bottle. This has white acrylic paint that has been thinned, and I'm just going to add some line work with this. You can grab a Uniball Signo White, Sakura Bold as well. I like those because they're permanent. The Uniball Signal is not permanent when dry. You can also use a Posca pan here if you prefer. So as I do my mini makes, I'm going to, basically, I think pick a technique and focus on that. If you'd like to see the mini make art journal pages, let me know. Because if it's not something people are interested in, I won't do that. I'll just do the regular size art journals. But I like the idea of being able to use those smaller scale stamps and smaller scale focal images that I have. The small size isn't so intimidating, it's risk-free, there's not a lot of expense, and you don't have to spend a lot of time to be done. If you have more time, you can do several mini makes together on a theme. So I make sure that I dry this before I move to the next step. Now, I had lots of the dark blue paint left over, so I just grabbed a page and I put that excess paint on one of the white pages. So I've colorized another page, and isn't that great? Nothing wasted, and you've kickstarted your next plan. Now I'm just edging this. With the dark blue paint, because again, I have it all at the ready here. Now I want to add a little bit of mark making, so I'm looking at my stamps for small scale stamps. I just want a little bit of detail, and I grabbed this one out of my Postal stamp set, little wavy lines. I just want to add some interest to it. And then I'm going to splatter. Just add a little more black in there. You could add gold or shimmer if you like. And make sure you dry in between. Now this is from my short and sweet sentiment pack, and this is printed out on clear Avery adhesive. So I'm cutting them apart and peel and stick. This adhesive really does well. It sticks very well. You don't even need to grab out the gel medium, which is another time saver. And I'll put a link to adhesive ones, the clear and the not clear, because again, that's a great way of saving time. Now I did grab my Secura glaze pen and I went to outline it, and I was on top of it and it doesn't work well on that surface. And I wasn't happy with what was happening here. I got it smeared a little bit. I'm outlining around the outside. Then I wanted to clean up a little bit on there, and I rubbed off the text from my laser printer, which has not happened before. And I left that in to show you. So I wipe it down and then I go back and I cut out another one and it looks fine. But just be aware that that can happen. And to avoid that, I put a very thin layer of gel medium on top, and that just seals the text, the ink in. So now we have a workaround. And I think that's probably what I've done on all the other ones, and that's why I've never had that issue. Just adding a little more of the blue in there that I've wiped out. You can always touch up a mistake. Nothing can happen that you can't fix. And there I'm just putting a light coat of gel medium on top, and that's just going to seal it. I like these Avery clear stickers because they're very matte. They do not shine even without the matte medium on them. I don't like when you put shiny stickers on. A workaround for that, you can put matte medium on top of the shiny stickers, and it dulls that shine. And then put it into the book. So now you got a sneak peek of the other one that I did, which I obviously did first. Now I wanted to see how it was just raw paper. And so I decided to do the reversing the stencil technique, which you do on a black background. So the first step would be to paint it black. And I didn't. I wanted to test out. Now I'm coming in with my white gesso through the stencil. And I had a lot of trouble. I think I was rushing, keeping the stencil in place. I should have put some tape in the bottom left-hand corner, and eventually I do. Yeah, there I go. I think this is like my bloopers reel. So I'm putting a couple coats of white gesso on there, and that shows up the stencil. And I'm giving this a dry. You don't want to put the heat tool on the stencils. The stencils are plastic. And then I'm going to come in with the color. Now the white gesso allows those colors to be bold and bright. Now I was only going to do those three, and then I got carried away. Liking the contrast. I like where, the stencil had moved and you got those extra white lines. I love those little details. Happy accidents, I guess. Just adding a little more color in there with the purple and a small paintbrush. And then I just decide instead of stenciling on the green, I'm just painting all that green out. This is also a great place to use a stencil you haven't used before. Get to know it. Or try it on with a different technique. Again, no risk. I have my stamp stencil, this reflection stamp. This is a Tim Holtz one, and I'm stamping through the stencil. Gives a nice little bit of text. And then I'm edging it with black, just like I do my full-size pages. So anything you see me doing on a full-size art journal page, you can do on a mini page. Just going to be a whole lot quicker. So here I'm using some of those TCW stamps, the focal image, that I can't use on an art journal page, or most of my art journal pages. I guess I could use it for iCads, index card a day, or if I made ATCs, but I don't make a whole lot of those. So I'm using black archival ink because it's permanent when it's dry, and I'm just stamping more than what I think I need. Typically I do that when I've got the ink out and I've got the, the acrylic block out. I do a lot of stamping, and then I put that in the stash, which means the next time I can put together a page fairly quickly because I don't have to stop and start stamping. I typically keep a container on my desk where all these excess ones go. After a while, they may end up filed away, but I limit myself to the one basket of excess. If it gets too full, that's when I sort it and put it away. I love the sentiments on that Valentina stamp set. So I'm going to bubble cut this, leaving that little bit of white around it because I just, not too much. If you don't like that, you can fussy cut it exactly. Okay. And then I'm just layering up multiples, playing with the composition. I don't like how that's showing. And so I grab my gesso and I white it out. Take it back to ground zero. And now I'm just going to put some green there. Of course, I should have waited for the gesso to dry. I thought I'd stamp in it, get some marks, but that didn't work. I cut apart the sentiment and I changed my mind, of course. This is also the advantage when you stamp more than what you need. And I'm layering up those sentiments on there. Outlining with the Sakura glaze pen. Once everything's dry, don't do it when it's wet. And edging. So if you want to make your own mini make art journal, drive to your nearest Dollar Tree. If you do, I'd love to see your mini makes. Come and post it in my Facebook group, Art Journaling and Mixed Media. Thanks for watching. Now go get creative.